Detective James Carter was a man known throughout his town for his courage, honesty, and dedication to his work. He had spent nearly 15 years serving as a police officer, solving cases, protecting people, and earning respect from everyone who knew him. But behind the uniform and the medals, James carried a quiet loneliness. His life had always been about duty and responsibility, leaving little room for personal relationships. Friends came and went, and family ties had long grown distant, leaving him in a small, tidy apartment filled with memories of work and the occasional photograph of happier times. Yet, despite the solitude, James felt a strange emptiness, a yearning for something more meaningful than cases and routines, something that could fill the quiet nights with laughter, love, and warmth. Meanwhile, across town, 6 young girls were struggling to survive a life no child should ever face. Each of them had a different story of neglect, abandonment, or misfortune. Their lives were filled with uncertainty, hunger, and the constant fear of being alone. Emily, the eldest at 15, had learned to act strong and protective, shielding her younger sisters from the harsh reality they faced. Lily, 12, was quiet and shy, often hiding her tears and sadness behind a small smile. Sophie, 10, had a fiery spirit, refusing to give in to the hardships of her life. Olivia, 9, loved to draw and dream about a world far beyond the walls she was trapped in. Mia, 8, clung to any small hope of kindness. And Grace, only 6, had the innocence of childhood, but carried the weight of knowing life was not fair. Together, they survived as best they could, helping each other in small ways and finding comfort in shared stories and secret games. One rainy afternoon, James was on patrol when he noticed a small commotion outside a rundown apartment building. A group of children huddled in the doorway, their clothes soaked, eyes wide, and faces showing both fear and hunger. Something in him stirred, a protective instinct he hadn't felt in years. He approached cautiously, calling out gently to make sure they felt safe. The girls were hesitant, unsure if this stranger in a uniform could be trusted. But James spoke with warmth and kindness, asking their names, learning bits of their story, and offering them a hot meal from a nearby cafe. As they ate, they slowly began to trust him, telling him about the empty apartment, the night spent crying silently, and a constant worry about what tomorrow would bring. James felt a deep ache in his heart, realizing that these girls had been neglected, unseen, and unloved for far too long. He couldn't walk away knowing that he had the ability to change their lives. The thought of taking them in, giving them a home, love, and stability grew stronger with each passing minute. But he also knew it would not be easy. Adopting 6 children at once would challenge every aspect of his life, his finances, his time, and even the perceptions of those around him, friends. And colleagues might question his judgment. Neighbors could gossip, and the girls themselves might resist change. Yet, despite the fear and uncertainty, he made a silent promise to himself. I will give them a chance at life, a chance they deserve. That night, James returned home, unable to sleep. His mind raced with plans, questions, and possibilities. What if they refused him? What if he wasn't enough for them? But then he thought about the empty apartments they had called home, the nights spent hungry, the fear in their eyes, and he knew he could not turn back. He began to imagine a home filled with laughter, bedtime stories, school mornings, and family meals. A home where the girls could feel safe, loved, and valued. A home where James could finally experience the warmth he had longed for. The next morning, with determination in his heart, James returned to the apartment building, carrying blankets, food, and small gifts to build trust. The girls were surprised but cautiously happy to see him again. Emily, the eldest, watched him with suspicion, but even she couldn't hide the flicker of hope in her eyes. James knelt down to their level, promising that no matter what, he would be there for them. That day marked the beginning of a bond that would grow stronger with each passing moment, a bond that would change not only the girls' lives, but also James' own. In that moment, the lonely cop found a new purpose, and the neglected girls caught their first glimpse of a life filled with love, care, and endless possibilities. It was the start of a journey that would not be easy, filled with challenges, laughter, tears, and triumphs. But it was a journey that would prove that one act of courage, one decision to care, could rewrite the destinies of 6 innocent lives, and in turn, fill a lonely heart with a family he had always dreamed of. Taking the girls home was only the first step, but the real challenge was about to begin. James Carter knew that adopting 6 children at once would change his life forever. It was a decision no one in his small town could easily understand, and even he felt a mixture of fear and excitement. As he drove back to his apartment with the girls, he kept stealing glances at their faces. Each one carried a mix of hope, curiosity, and silent worry. Emily, the oldest, stared out of the window, trying to appear calm, but James could see the tension in her hands. Lily clung to Sophie, unsure about what awaited her, and little Grace fidgeted nervously, clutching a worn-out toy she refused to let go of. Back at his apartment, James realized how unprepared he truly was. The rooms were small and modest, barely enough space for one child, let alone 6. His furniture was simple, his kitchen stocked only with the basics, and his heart felt heavy with the responsibility he was about to take on. But looking at the girls, he knew there was no turning back. He could see their potential, their longing for stability, and he promised himself silently that he would give them everything he could. The first night was quiet but tense. The girls explored their new surroundings cautiously, peeking into corners, opening drawers, and whispering to each other about the strange but kind man who had brought them here. James tried to make the apartment feel warm. He cooked a simple dinner, which the girls ate with polite silence at first. But by the end, Emily smiled slightly and Lily giggled when James accidentally spilled a bit of soup on the table. That small laughter felt like a miracle, signal that trust was beginning to grow. Over the next few days, James faced the reality of his bold decision. The girls tested every rule he tried to set, refusing to sleep in their assigned beds, sneaking out of the kitchen when he wasn't looking, and challenging his authority with sharp words and stubborn eyes. Each time, James felt a pang of doubt, questioning if he had bitten off more than he could chew. Yet he remembered the cold, empty apartments they had come from, and he knew he could not give up. Slowly, with patience, consistency, and a lot of gentle guidance, he started to establish routines. Breakfast became a shared moment of conversation. School uniforms were laid out the night before, and bedtime stories became a nightly tradition. The community, however, had mixed reactions. Neighbors whispered about the single cop suddenly taking in 6 girls. Some expressed admiration, while others doubted his ability to handle so much responsibility. Even his colleagues were skeptical, warning him about burnout, exhaustion, and the challenges of raising children with difficult pasts. But James refused to let opinions shake him. He knew that love and dedication were stronger than doubt. One afternoon, he sat down with the girls in the small living room and shared a simple truth. "I can't promise life will be easy, but I can promise that you will never feel alone again. You will always have a home, food on the table, and someone who believes in you." The girls listened quietly, their eyes wide. Emily blinked back tears. Sophie hugged her little sister, and even Grace whispered, "Thank you," in a soft, trembling voice. That moment solidified a silent bond, a foundation built on trust, hope, and the courage to believe in a better future. As the days turned into weeks, small victories became moments of joy. The girls learned to laugh together, share chores, and celebrate little achievements. James discovered his own capacity for patience, creativity, and unconditional love. Each day brought a new lesson, sometimes challenging, sometimes joyful, but always meaningful. And through it all, he began to understand that this bold decision, though risky, was the most important choice he had ever made. It was a choice that would not only change the girls' lives, but also his own, forever. Life in James Carter's apartment was far from perfect, but it was theirs now. The first few weeks were chaotic, with 6 girls learning to live under one roof and a single man figuring out how to be a father. Every day brought surprises, small victories, and moments that tested patience. Emily, as the eldest, tried to take charge, organizing her younger sisters and keeping them in line. Yet, her attempts sometimes clashed with James' rules, leading to tense but honest conversations. Lily, still, shy and withdrawn, began opening up slowly, sharing little stories about school and dreams she had kept hidden. Sophie's fiery nature caused occasional arguments, but also brought laughter and spirited energy to the household. Olivia used her love for drawing to brighten walls with pictures of their new life. Mia clung to routines, finding comfort in small patterns, and Grace, the youngest, brought innocence and curiosity, reminding everyone of the beauty in simple things. James quickly realized that creating a sense of normalcy was harder than he had imagined. Mornings were rushed, with 6 sets of clothes to lay out, breakfast to cook, and school bags to check. The apartment was always messy, toys and books scattered across the floor, dishes piling up in the sink, and laundry constantly needing attention. Yet in the chaos, small moments of connection emerged. James would sit with them over breakfast, asking about their day, listening to their stories, and learning about their personalities. These conversations, simple as they seemed, became the foundation of trust, letting the girls know that their voices mattered and that they were finally being heard. School was another challenge. The girls had different academic levels, some struggling to catch up while others excelled. James spent hours helping them with homework, contacting teachers, and encouraging them to never give up. Sometimes he was frustrated when progress was slow, but seeing their determination reminded him why he had taken this journey. Slowly, routines began to settle, with mornings filled with preparation for school, afternoons for homework, and evenings for shared meals and stories. On weekends, they explored parks, libraries, and local events, discovering a world beyond their past hardships. Each outing brought excitement and bonding, moments where laughter replaced fear and joy replaced uncertainty. Yet, the adjustment wasn't only practical. It was emotional. The girls carried scars from years of neglect, moments of anger, mistrust, and sadness that occasionally surfaced. Emily sometimes pushed boundaries, testing James' patience, while Lily would withdraw completely, retreating to a corner with her thoughts. Sophie's temper would flare, and even the youngest, Grace, would cry unexpectedly for no reason. James had to learn to balance discipline with empathy, to respond with understanding, rather than frustration, to be firm yet gentle. These emotional lessons were as important as any routine, teaching him how to be a parent, guide, and protector. Slowly, they began to form their little family, each girl finding a role within the household, and James discovering his place as a father. Nights became moments of storytelling and laughter. Bedtime hugs replaced tears, and shared secrets built trust. The apartment, once quiet and lonely, now echoed with voices, footsteps, and the occasional squeal of joy. Neighbors began noticing the change, curiosity replacing judgment, and some even offered help, lending supplies or sharing advice. James welcomed the support, knowing that building a family required community as much as love. By the end of the first few months, life was still far from perfect, but it was filled with hope. The girls were learning to trust again, to dream again, and to believe that life could be better than the past they had endured. James discovered a side of himself he hadn't known, a capacity for love, patience, and creativity that extended far beyond what he had imagined. Each day brought growth for both the girls and him. Moments of triumph hidden in ordinary routines, and laughter found in places he had never expected. In the quiet evenings as he watched them sleep, he realized that this adjustment period, chaotic and challenging as it was building something far more important than a household. It was building a family, a bond that could survive hardships, embrace joy, and change all their lives forever. Life was slowly settling for James and the 6 girls, but challenges never stayed away for long. Just when the apartment felt like a home, reality reminded them that their journey would not be easy. Money was always tight, and providing for 6 growing girls stretched James' budget to its limits. Simple things like buying school supplies, clothes, or even groceries became small mountains to climb. He worked extra hours, sometimes staying late at the station, returning home exhausted. But the thought of the girls going to bed hungry or without their needs met pushed him forward. Every paycheck was carefully budgeted, every meal planned, and yet somehow he managed to keep smiles on their faces. The girls' pasts also created obstacles that James had to navigate carefully. Emily sometimes acted out in rebellion, her pain from years of neglect surfacing in anger or frustration. Lily's shyness occasionally turned into extreme fear, making it hard for her to participate in school or social activities. Sophie, full of spirit and fire, would argue with rules, testing limits that James had to enforce with patience. Olivia and Mia needed extra support in learning, while little Grace, though innocent, cried when changes frightened her. Each day required James to balance discipline, understanding, and empathy. He had to become a teacher, a counselor, and a guide all at once, learning quickly that parenting was more than rules. It was heart, patience, and unwavering love. Outside the home, the community's judgment sometimes weighed heavily on James. Gossip spread about the single cop who had taken in 6 girls, and not all the comments were kind. Some neighbors questioned his ability, some doubted his motives, and even friends warned him of potential burnout. But James refused to let doubt or criticism shake him. He knew that actions mattered more than opinions, and that the girls' well-being was the only priority. With each challenge, he grew more confident, discovering solutions he never imagined. From creating creative study schedules to setting up a small home library for the girls, from finding free community programs to teaching the girls life skills that would help them succeed. Despite these struggles, moments of triumph began to appear. Small victories became celebrations, like Emily finally trusting him enough to confide her fears, or Lily smiling genuinely for the first time in months. Sophie's fiery spirit channeled into school projects, and Olivia's drawings began to decorate their apartment with color and hope. Mia learned to share and collaborate, while Grace's laughter became a daily reminder that innocence and joy could survive even the hardest circumstances. These moments were victories not only for the girls, but for James too. Proof that perseverance and love could slowly heal scars left by neglect and abandonment. One of the biggest tests came when the girls faced a crisis together. Emily had an important school competition, but a misunderstanding at home led to tension and arguments. Emotions ran high, tears flowed, and frustration seemed to take over. James realized he had to act not just as a disciplinarian, but as a mentor and protector. He calmed each girl, helped them communicate their feelings, and reminded them that their bond as a family was stronger than any disagreement. By evening, laughter returned. Emily performed brilliantly in her competition, and the girls celebrated together, feeling the power of unity and love. Through every obstacle, James and the girls learned resilience, patience, and teamwork. They realized that life would always have challenges, but facing them together made everything possible. What once seemed impossible, raising 6 girls, creating a stable home, and overcoming their emotional scars, was becoming real because of dedication, trust, and love. James looked around his small apartment, once quiet and lonely, now filled with chatter, laughter, and hope. He understood that obstacles were not the end, but opportunities to grow, bond, and become stronger together. And in those moments, the foundation of an unbreakable family was being built, a family where love outweighed fear, support overcame struggle, and courage replaced doubt. James had not only given these girls a home, but had also shown them, and himself, that no challenge was too great when faced with patience, empathy, and a heart willing to give everything for those who mattered. Years passed, and the once chaotic apartment had begun to feel like a true home. The girls, who had once been neglected and fearful, were slowly discovering their potential and talents. Emily, the eldest, had grown into a strong and confident young woman. Balancing school, responsibilities, and the care of her younger sisters, she had learned to trust James fully and often confided in him about her dreams of becoming a teacher. Lily, the quiet and shy one, was now blossoming her confidence. Growing with each passing day, she found joy in helping others, often tutoring her sisters in reading and writing, and her gentle nature became a source of calm in the house. Sophie, with her fiery spirit, excelled in sports, channeling her energy into running and gymnastics. Her determination impressed everyone, and she began earning recognition at school, showing that talent and perseverance could overcome any obstacle. The younger girls were equally remarkable. Olivia's love for drawing had turned into a real talent, and she began creating artwork that not only decorated their home, but also brought smiles to friends, neighbors, and teachers. Mia, who had once clung to small routines for comfort, began showing independence, helping cook meals, manage chores, and even teaching Grace small lessons about responsibility. Grace, the youngest, grew into a joyful and curious child, always eager to explore and learn. Her laughter filling the apartment and reminding everyone of the beauty of innocence. James watched these transformations with quiet pride, remembering the first days when trust was fragile and chaos ruled their lives. Every milestone, no matter how small, felt monumental, from Emily earning her first academic award, to Lily giving a speech at school, Sophie winning her first sports medal, Olivia's art being displayed in a local exhibition, Mia completing a challenging school project, and Grace taking her first confident steps at school events. Each achievement was a testament to their growth, resilience, and the power of love. Family rituals became a source of joy and bonding. Birthdays were celebrated with homemade cakes, laughter, and heartfelt gifts. Holidays were filled with music, decorations, and storytelling. And even small accomplishments like completing a difficult homework assignment or learning a new skill became reasons to celebrate. James made sure that every moment, no matter how ordinary it seemed, carried meaning. Teaching the girls to value effort, perseverance, and gratitude, he saw their lives slowly transform from a series of struggles into a journey of hope and achievement. The community, too, began to notice the change. Neighbors who once doubted James' decision now admired the bond between him and the girls. Teachers and friends spoke of the girls' transformation, and some even sought advice on parenting and care. The family story became a quiet inspiration, proving that with patience, support, and love, even the most neglected children could flourish. One particularly proud moment came when all 6 girls participated in a community event, showcasing their talents and skills. Emily gave a speech about her journey. Lily helped organize activities for younger children. Sophie demonstrated her athletic abilities. Olivia displayed her artwork. Mia assisted in leading group games, and Grace performed a small dance she had learned. Watching them together, James felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment, realizing that the years of struggle, sleepless nights, and endless patience had led to this, a family that not only survived but thrived. Through these milestones, the girls also began showing their gratitude in subtle ways, helping around the house without being asked, sharing their successes with James first, and often hugging him tightly after a long day. Each gesture reminded him that love, once nurtured, grows naturally and abundantly. And for James, these triumphs were not just personal victories for the girls, but proof that his bold decision 20 years ago had been the right one, that choosing to give love, care, and a chance to the neglected had created a ripple effect far greater than he had imagined. The apartment, once quiet and lonely, now echoed with laughter, celebration, and pride. Every wall, every corner, every small object told the story of struggle turned into success. Pain turned into growth, and neglect turned into triumph. And as James watched the girls sleep at night, he knew that these milestones were only the beginning, that the future held even greater achievements, lessons, and memories. And he felt a quiet joy in knowing that love, perseverance, and family could create miracles that would last a lifetime. As the years rolled on, the 6 girls grew into young women, each carrying the lessons, love, and support James had given them. They were no longer the scared, neglected children he had first met, but confident, capable, and determined to make their mark on the world. Emily was finishing high school with top grades, dreaming of a career in teaching so she could help children just like her younger sisters. Lily had blossomed into a gentle leader, tutoring younger students and inspiring her. Friends with quiet wisdom, Sophie's athletic talent had earned her scholarships, her fiery spirit turning challenges into victories. Olivia's art was gaining attention in local galleries, Mia had become responsible beyond her years, and Grace, still young but full of curiosity and creativity, shone brightly in everything she attempted. Despite their growth, one thing remained constant: the deep love and gratitude they felt for James. Every accomplishment reminded them of the sacrifices he had made, the nights he had stayed up helping with homework, the days he had spent working extra shifts to provide for them, and the unwavering patience he had shown through tantrums, tears, and disagreements. They realized that he had given them far more than a home. He had given them stability, confidence, and the ability to dream without fear. One afternoon, while sitting together in the living room, Emily broke the comfortable silence. "We've been thinking, all of us, about how much you've done for us, James. We want to show you just how much it means." Her voice trembled slightly, but there was a determination in her eyes. The other girls nodded in agreement, each of them holding small notes, drawings, and plans they had secretly been working on for months. James, surprised and slightly anxious, asked, "What are you planning?" But the girls only smiled mysteriously, refusing to reveal anything just yet. The days that followed were filled with whispers, secret meetings, and quiet preparations. James noticed their excitement, but didn't know the reason. He suspected a surprise. But the girls were careful to hide the details. They were growing up, yes, but their hearts remained bound by gratitude and a desire to repay the man who had changed their lives completely. Each girl contributed in her own way. Emily organizing the plan, Lily coordinating schedules, Sophie handling logistics, Olivia creating designs, Mia managing details, and Grace adding her innocent charm to brighten everything. Finally, the day arrived. Though James still had no idea what awaited him, the girls led him to the living room, eyes sparkling with anticipation, and asked him to sit. Heart pounding, James obeyed, unsure of what to expect. Emily stepped forward first, handing him a scrapbook filled with photographs, letters, and drawings chronicling the years they had spent together. Every page told a story of struggle, growth, and love. Each letter expressed gratitude, admiration, and pride, revealing how James had been more than a father. He had been a mentor, protector, and hero. Then came the final surprise. One by one, the girls revealed a plan they had been quietly building. A charitable foundation dedicated to helping neglected children, funded partially by scholarships and small projects they had initiated themselves. It was their way of ensuring that no other child would feel alone or unwanted, just as they once had. James listened in stunned silence, tears forming in his eyes as he realized the enormity of their gift. Not only had they grown into remarkable young women, but they had also turned his love and guidance into something that could change countless lives. In that moment, the turning point of their journey became clear. The girls' lives were no longer just about survival or overcoming neglect. They had reached a stage where they could create impact, inspire others, and give back to the world that had once failed them. And James, who had only intended to give them a home and care, now witnessed the incredible ripple effect of love, sacrifice, and dedication. Their repayment was beyond anything he could have imagined, tangible proof that the seeds of kindness, when nurtured with patience and love, could grow into miracles. James hugged each of the girls tightly, overwhelmed by pride and gratitude. For the first time in years, he truly understood that family was not just about biology or circumstance, but about love, trust, and the choices one makes every day. The turning point had arrived, marking the beginning of a new chapter in all their lives, a chapter where their bond, forged in struggle and nurtured with love, would continue to inspire, grow, and change the world in ways even James had never dreamed. The day had finally come when James Carter would witness the true fruits of his love, dedication, and sacrifices. The 6 girls, once neglected and frightened, were now standing before him, confident, capable, and full of excitement. Each one carried a small token of their plan, yet together they held something far greater than he could have imagined. It began quietly, with Emily stepping forward and speaking, her voice steady but emotional. "James, you gave us everything when we had nothing. You gave us a home, love, guidance, and hope, And now it's our turn to give back in a way that can make a difference not just for us, but for others too. One by one, the girls revealed what they had prepared in secret. Months of planning, hard work, and dedication had led to this moment. They had launched a foundation for neglected children, inspired by their own experiences, designed to provide shelter, education, and emotional support for kids who had no one to turn to. Emily explained the vision, while Lily shared the logistics. Sophie highlighted their achievements so far. Olivia displayed artwork that would inspire children in the program. Mia showed financial plans they had developed. And even Grace, with innocent pride, handed James a handmade certificate declaring him the hero of our lives. James stood frozen, tears threatening to fall. His heart swelled with emotions he could not name. Shock, pride, disbelief, joy, all mixed into one overwhelming wave. He had never imagined that 6 children, who once clung to him out of fear and uncertainty, would turn their love into something so powerful, something that could touch lives far beyond their own. His voice caught when he finally spoke. I don't know what to say. You've given me a gift beyond words, a reward I could never have imagined. The girls hugged him tightly, and in that moment, time seemed to stand still. The apartment, once filled with uncertainty, neglect, and fear, now radiated warmth, laughter, and love. Every corner, every wall, and every memory spoke of a journey that had transformed not only their lives, but James as well. The foundation they had created was more than just a project. It was a symbol of hope, gratitude, and the unbreakable bond between a father and his daughters. As the days passed, news of their foundation spread throughout the community. People were inspired by the story of a single cop who adopted 6 neglected girls and raised them into remarkable young women. The girls themselves became role models, showing that resilience, love, and determination could turn even the harshest circumstances into triumph. James, though humble, found himself celebrated not for what he had done alone, but for the love he had poured into these children, love that now multiplied through the actions of his daughters. What made the moment truly unbelievable was how thoughtful and personal their repayment was. They hadn't just created a charitable organization. They had made sure James' influence and guidance were honored in every aspect, from naming the foundation partly after him, to including lessons and values he had taught them, to sending him letters of gratitude and small gifts that reminded him of their shared journey. Every detail reflected how deeply they understood and appreciated his sacrifices, turning love into action in a way that left James speechless. That evening, as James sat alone after the celebrations, he reflected on the incredible journey, from the lonely cop who had noticed 6 frightened girls on a rainy day, to the father who had weathered sleepless nights, tantrums, financial struggles, and societal doubt. He now saw the full circle of life, the astonishing power of giving without expectation, and the remarkable ability of love to transform lives. In that quiet moment, he realized that true repayment was not measured in money or gifts, but in gratitude, growth, and the ability to continue a legacy of care. The unbelievable payback of James' daughters was not only a gift to him, but a lesson to the world. A reminder that one act of courage and kindness could ripple through generations, changing destinies and inspiring countless others. And as he looked at photographs, letters, and the Foundation's first projects, he understood that love given freely always returns in ways far greater than imagined. The girls had repaid him not just with actions, but with proof that love, patience, and faith in others could create miracles that last a lifetime. Years had passed since James Carter had first met the 6 frightened, neglected girls on that rainy afternoon. The apartment that once echoed with uncertainty and fear now overflowed with laughter, love, and the warmth of a family forged through patience, courage, and endless care. The girls had grown into remarkable young women, each following their dreams, excelling in school, sports, art, and community work. But no matter where life took them, the bond with James remained unbreakable. The foundation they had created together continued to grow, helping children who had once felt invisible or unloved. James often visited the center, watching the joy on young faces as they learned, played, and experienced the stability he had once provided for his own daughters. Every child reminded him of the girls he had adopted 20 years ago, and every success story reflected the love and guidance that had started in a small, humble apartment. He saw firsthand how one person's kindness could ripple out into the world, touching lives far beyond what anyone could imagine. The girls, now adults, often reflected on their journey with pride and gratitude. They remembered the nights James stayed awake helping with homework, the weekends filled with outings and laughter, the quiet moments when he simply listened to their fears, and the countless small sacrifices he had made to ensure they never felt unwanted. Each memory reinforced their desire to honor him, not just through words, but through action. Their foundation and personal successes were living proof of his influence, a legacy built on love and unwavering dedication. James, though humble, could not help but feel immense pride. He had started as a lonely cop who simply wanted to help, yet his life had transformed in ways he never imagined. The girls had given him more than love. They had given him purpose, joy, and a family that filled the emptiness he had once felt. The legacy he created was no longer just a story, but a story that inspired others, a tale of hope, courage, and the incredible power of giving without expecting anything in return. One quiet evening, as he sat with the girls in the living room, now grown and successful, they shared stories of their achievements, dreams, and plans for the future. Emily spoke of mentoring children in need. Lily described how she was tutoring students from broken homes. Sophie shared her plans to coach young athletes. Olivia spoke proudly about her exhibitions inspiring children. Mia and Grace talked about small community projects they were running. And James listened, heart swelling with pride and love, realizing that every lesson he had taught, every sacrifice he had made, had taken root in ways beyond imagination. The true legacy, James understood, was not measured by awards, recognition, or material success, but by the lives touched, hearts healed, and futures changed. The girls' repayment had shown him that love given freely and patiently returned in ways far beyond expectation. It created ripples of hope, compassion, and inspiration that spread far beyond their immediate family, touching every child they helped, every community project they initiated, and every person who heard their story. Even in his quiet moments, James would reflect on how a single decision had transformed everything. The choice to adopt 6 neglected girls had not only saved their lives, but had also shaped his own, teaching him lessons about patience, resilience, empathy, and the immeasurable power of love. He realized that life's greatest rewards often came not from achievements or recognition, but from the courage to care deeply and act selflessly. And as the girls flourished, achieving dreams and helping others, James knew that the family he had created would continue to inspire generations. Their story became a beacon of hope for anyone facing hardship, showing that love, guidance, and belief in others could overcome neglect, fear, and despair. In that small apartment, once filled with uncertainty, a legacy had been built, not in stone or words, but in hearts, actions, and lives forever changed. The legacy of love was complete. The 6 girls had repaid him in ways unimaginable. But more importantly, they carried forward the values he had instilled, spreading hope, compassion, and kindness to the world. James smiled, knowing that the journey that began 20 years ago would continue to inspire, heal, and transform lives long after, proving that true love and dedication never fade, and that one person's courage to care can leave a mark that lasts forever.